So this is going to go a little bit into what you're seeing as a player in terms of how you're supposed to really feel like you move this putter. So if you were to ask, any golf professional, they're going to tell you, oh, the putter head moves on an arc. And factually correct. I totally agree with you. I think that when we look at the science behind it, yes, it does move on an arc, but when we start talking about it as a golfer and as a player looking down at the putt, sometimes it's not necessarily an arc. And I think that when we start to manipulate what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it, we get a little off track. So one of the things I love about Capto Golf is that it gives me an idea of what the player's putting into the grip from a rotation standpoint, from a force and a twist and a torque and a push and a pull, and it gives me all the things that the player is doing, which comes from what they're thinking about they have to do. And I think that the arc of the stroke is one of the things that becomes a bit of a touchy point because we're not quite sure exactly how to do that. So I want to talk about this for a sec, that when we look at, from your perspective, if you were to look at the putter head traveling, at the bottom, it would look like this. That's an arc, right? It kind of goes up, it comes back down, and it goes up. And I think that we know if we looked at it from a bird's eye view, straight up from the ground, from the sky, that we would see that putt would also arc, right? It would arc something like that, for sure. So I'm going to hold that. Okay, that's the arc. Let's call it a really strong arc. Okay, great. But from a player's perspective, all right, that arc is going to look like a straight line. There's your arc. And that's where the golfer's looking from. The golfer's looking from where you're looking at it, where I'm looking at it, behind the camera, down the line, through the golf ball. The golf ball would be somewhere where the two boards intersect with this white stick, right? That looks like a straight line to me. But we can tell that from the camera, if we looked at a putter hitting a ball, it would be arced this way, and from the bird's eye view, it would be arced a little bit differently. So just want to understand the difference between how those arcs are affected by the real world. That's what the Capto gets to tell us, and that's what the science tells us. But then there's also what the player sees. And the player sees a straight line going back and through. So there's the straight line motion, but I think we also see that putter head rises. So from the player's view, it might look pretty straight, but that putter is moving farther from the wall, closer to the wall, farther from the wall. And I think that when golfers start to understand the relationship between how that putter head leaves the ground to go up, comes back down, and comes back up again, I think that type of an action is going to fix a lot of strokes from a directional standpoint. And then all of a sudden, you start to get speed a little bit better. So start to think of it from that perspective. Allow the putter to work back and straight through from your view, but knowing that the putter has to work up, down, and up. And I think that you start to move a little differently.